The Night House is a new horror film that I didn't know much about. It actually came out in 2020, but it finally got released now. I knew nothing about this movie, but I dragged my friend to it, and it was not the greatest experience. This is the story of Beth. She is a grieving woman because her husband has died, and she's a teacher, and she's having trouble struggling with everyone sort of, they're doing that thing, that annoying thing where they, pat you on the shoulder and say, you want me to, bring you some casserole or some stuff, or, she's having a rough time. She's diving deep in the wine and the camcorder videos of their wedding. However, she starts to discover some more dangerous things about him when she goes through his phone after getting a mysterious text. She keeps waking up, not in her bed, but like on the floor of their house. It's a big, nice house near the water. And as the story unfolds, things get darker. She starts finding little secret things hidden from her, and then the more she explores, the darker it gets, until we finally get this sort of creeping, unsettling thing that there was a lot of secrets that her husband was hiding. So The Night House, the tone and the style of the movie is very old school, in the vein of like Haunting of Hill House, like the new show, or like The Innocents or The Others with Nicole Kidman. It's like a classic ghost story, but however, it tries to strike a balance between two different tones. It's trying to be like a drama about grief, but it's also trying to be a horror story. And I feel it kind of bungles the horror aspects a lot. I don't know much about the director, but he wrote the story. David Bruckner also did The Ritual, which is on Netflix. So I didn't really know anything about him, but I knew that Rebecca Hall is really solid. She's great at acting in this movie and other stuff, but she also produced this movie, and she was also in a really great horror film called The Awakening in 2012. So, I've had experience with her being in horror movies before and being good, but this one, any scene where she's, talking about grief or whatever with her friends or whatever is great. The dialogue is amazing, really great stuff, dark humor, dark subject matter, and then you get a little bit of sprinkling and peppering of horror elements that are really creepy, because they're very understated. They just sort of touch on things, bump in the night, sort of like realistic ghost stuff. It's not like windows shatter and like dead birds are like showering themselves. It's a very subtle horror story to begin with, but as the story goes on, it starts to drag, and then there's this big twist that happens near the end that's just so on the nose, so cloyingly like bad. My friend hated that scene. It got me too. The audience didn't like it either, but it was just so on the nose. A lot of people just didn't dig that. And then, of course, it didn't have much of a payoff at the end, because there wasn't. It just sort of just fizzled out. So The Night House has some pretty good production values. I really like the house. Some of the creeping, unsettling horror moments work, such as like this mysterious house across the lake and like witchcraft and stuff like that. The acting's great, dialogue's great for the most part. The pacing's not that good, and just overall, it just feels a little underwhelming, because as the story goes on, more elements are uncovered, but the movie doesn't get more interesting or scarier. It just sort of just fizzles out. And I do like the drama aspects and the acting, but overall, The Night House is a bit of a misfire, and I give it a 4 out of 10.